Hey, I'm Dave. I'm here with Launders, professional Counterstrike global offensive commentator and former player. Um, yeah, if you don't mind introducing yourself real quick, Launders.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on, dude. I watched some of your YouTube videos, and I like your tips. So why don't we talk about CS a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the main thing that's on like everyone's mind is obviously CS2 right around the corner coming out in June. The limited access out now. So why don't we start there? I mean, I'd say the main thing, and like we could just play a video here. I'd say the main thing that's on a lot of people's mind is the new smoke grenades that are out. So something like a first question that comes to mind is like, do you think rounds are going to be faster pace, slower pace, relatively the same as they are now, or how do you see that unfolding?
Yeah, I think we get a balance. I think maybe it's going to be more oppressive for the team who has more money because of the HE edition. So if you can afford smokes and HEs, then you might be at such a big advantage that it's tough to play against. And you can also control the pace. So like reading the money, maybe going to be more valuable even than before. And then on top of that, having the ability to like nade your smokes on both sides, I think I don't know, just seems so game changing.
Yeah, I didn't even consider the economy part. That's an excellent point. About kind of having the smoke and the HE. You know, it costs more, but if you have access to that over and over, I could see that being total new meta. So yeah, it's kind of following on top of the smoke with HE conversation. So I have heard some debate about how long the smoke should dissipate from an HE nade. So what are your thoughts on the current timing, and would you like to see it changed, or do you think it's currently like at the right timing, or yeah, what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah. I think initial reaction was like, oh, it's so long. Like it's so long. My delayed reaction is like, okay, well, what about counterplay? And then what about counter to that play? And like, we haven't seen any of it. So I sort of think like if it never, let's say it was overpowered and it doesn't get balanced, people would still find out reactions that would definitely be able to be sufficient to like not make it as powerful as it seems. And I think we just haven't seen any of that yet. So I have trouble kind of like theory striking it in the sense of like, okay, I always think with the long cross smoke on Dust 2, if we nade the long cross smoke, that's one thing, because that's really powerful for the CT side to like get a free shot off in a certain timing, especially if it's like 20 seconds on the round, you know they're crossing for sure. But if you're now on CT side, like you can't even really stand in you can't stand a game helper, you can't really stand it safely in CT open on all these angles if the T's can also nade the smoke and cross, while peeking, for example. So there's a high likelihood you can get caught off guard with your nade out. Just as much as there's a high likelihood that like a T is gonna nade the cross smoke and like swing on you.
Yeah, that's a wild thought. Like for me as a player, because I haven't played the beta yet, but right now when I see a smoke, right, like to me it's a wall. It's something to feel comfortable behind, right? Like if an enemy tries to run through it, they're gonna have gray screen, and I'm gonna have the advantage while they're running through. So yeah, that's a really interesting point. Like so it's almost removing that, I guess, comfortability for players, right? Like to just be
How do you
holding
feel about
smokes.
it?
Yeah, that's kind of how I'm thinking about it. Like after hearing you explain it about like, I'm imagining like the going for the long A pick. Like, I'm gonna run up along with the best spawn with an AWP, and my teammate's going to throw an HE, and I'm as a CT, and I'm gonna go pick side doors even though they smoked the corner. Like I think it's just gonna. It may slow down initial picks, honestly. It may like turn the long fight into more of a, hey, like they're gonna try to do all this wild stuff with HEs off the spawn timings. Like maybe we should like, wait a second or two, like flash twice and go kind of like do more proper pathing. But I don't know, it's really interesting but then, again, like kind of like evolving off of that, of what you said before, of like, like if we think they're going to do that, now we can do this, and you can kind of like keep playing different metas, right? But
I'm kind of thinking that people are also just assuming that there's going to be like 10 HEs in every round, which is just not going to be the case. Like they're really strong, but people are not going to be able to like prioritize HEs on every round, I don't think. And it's also like it's 3 seconds, which is a long time when you see it happen, but it's not like a long time in terms of how long the smoke's up. Like the smoke's now up for an extra 3 seconds. I don't know if you knew that.
Oh, I did not know that.
You haven't played it. Yeah, so the smoke's also 3 seconds longer.
That's wild.
Yeah. which makes it really strange. Like Inferno, for example. Also, you can one smoke cross on long, Dust 2.
Oh.
And yeah, and so like back in the day, they made the round timer longer, so smokes weren't as powerful on Inferno. Like that was a huge problem before. So now smokes are even longer, map's the same, round time's the same. So like what happens now, like strong, was it actually the smokes that got more powerful and the nades aren't even enough of a counter? Like, that's where I'm at now.
Right. Wow. Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. That's really interesting that I didn't realize that they were 3 seconds longer. I did not hear that. So that's wild though for rounds, because like you could just like, to go to the Inferno example, you could see like front sight or like front entrance being smoked almost permanently, right? Or like on Nuke, like you could see squeaky door being smoked off the entire time, right? So I guess now that almost makes me wonder about the dissipation time, like making that smaller might even be more dangerous unless they change the smoke timer too, because like it kind of should be like a T side thing where the T's are going to blow through the smoke and push through, right? And they kind of want that window to be able to have vision. But cool, awesome. Yeah, that's a lot to think about. I think like I definitely need to spend time when the beta comes out and like do a lot of testing there. But yeah, those are really cool thoughts on smokes. But so again, like I haven't played the beta, but yeah, but I did
Which
hear.
is a shame. I hope you get it.
Yeah, I do too. Absolutely. But I do know that the audio was reworked, right? So any like initial thoughts on your experience with the new sound in Counterstrike?
You brought that up. I think the fidelity of audio for different guns is definitely, they try to just objectively improve it to the point that like it's less fatiguing or less harsh, which I think you've heard like the new AK, the scope sort of like rattle sound, and then a couple of other things that feel more cosmetic, which I think is just to improve fidelity. When it comes to like footsteps and things like that, I mean, I've always felt like since they introduced 3D positional audio in the game with, I can't remember what it's called, what the acronym is, but I've always had that on because I felt like it worked really well for me. And in CS2, I've also just had no problems. Like it's just felt really, I feel confidence in where I hear a footstep or where I hear a sound coming from, almost exactly the same as I did in CSGO. So I don't know if I've noticed an improvement, but that's not even to say that it's a bad thing.
All right, well, hey, consistency sounds
experience.
sounds good to me, because I'm also in the same boat. I'm happy about where things are with my listening experience in Counter-Strike Footsteps. Isn't there something with the radar that is combined with audio now?
Oh, yeah. So I think it's there's two circles. You have two circles. I think your farthest one is the maximum distance that your footstep can be heard at. And then I fucking forgot what the inner one was. I did know this actually. I haven't played CS2 in like 3 weeks since I was just traveling, but the inner circle is another. I can't remember what that was.
Would it be like your footstep sounds maybe or something?
I thought it was something like that at first. I think in this clip you can see it when he's on Nuke. That he's gonna have two like circles that come up on the radar, and then you wonder what it is. But yeah, either way, it's information on how much you can be heard. So, it's really cool. Everyone's it's handicap, like easy mode, but whatever. I think it's kind of nice for people to learn, and it's sort of annoying that if you're not on a team, for example, you can't get like during server work, you can like figure out like what angles are sick or like where like how far you can be heard on different things, and this just makes it more accessible.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, it's impossible to do without a teammate. That's a really good point. Yeah, I wonder if maybe they would. Well, I'm sure there will be like an option to turn it off, right? Because I feel like if you're very comfortable with like, you probably don't want the rings on your radar if you're very comfortable with your sound already. But yeah, I wonder if they'll make it kind of more of like a private server thing eventually, where
like exclusively, or
yeah, like not actually in the game, but kind of if you're just like, you know, playing with bots and like the grenade trajectory and everything. I don't know, just an idea. But I mean, I don't think it's a bad thing though. I mean, I think it's nice to, you know, give people an easier way to learn, right?
Yeah, it's tough when you've spent a certain amount of time to like gain the knowledge, and then you like a feature gets introduced that's like, well, oh, didn't have to learn that. It kind of sucks to think about that. But then also, if it's just the right amount of accessibility, it can definitely raise the ceiling as well, because there are less frivolous deaths, and then the skills in your game have to be like allocated to other things, and those are the only reasons that you die, which makes it harder for like people to get advantages. But if there's ways like dynamic smokes or something like that, then it can be okay. But yeah, definitely, of course, like I think the amount of work that people have like put into learning the game, you don't want that to be totally upended as soon as they release a new version.
Definitely. Yeah, that's a really cool point about the skill translating, and like, you know, we even saw in the pro match they had the other week, just like seeing that people are able to just like kind of, you know, translate a lot of their skill and just like firepower over already in the game. So yeah, super excited about CS2. But if you don't mind if we shift now over to CSGO and kind of just quickly look at, I'm gonna pull up some stats here. So I have the North American team rankings right now from HLTV. So right now we have Liquid currently sitting at I believe they're number 7 in the world, Complexity at 18, and Evil Geniuses at number 50. And then we also have Nouns, EG Black, ATK, Party Astronauts, all just kind of the teams I wanted to call out. So really, we only have 2 pro teams in the top 20 world rankings that are from the North American region, right? The rest are kind of between the 20th, the 70th positions, and I guess for the teams that are in the 20th and 70th position, personally, like I've seen a lot of those teams like contending, like fighting for positions at tournaments, like playing qualifiers, going to events, and doing very well, and you know, competing in NA's ECL. But I kind of feel like a lot of them have been where they are for a while, and I'm wondering like if you have any kind of like insight or ideas around like how do those teams step up to the next level? Because like one thing just like that comes to mind is people are always saying the practice in the NA is tougher because you don't have the level of competition that they have in Europe, right? So like I guess like what does that like really mean? Like what is missing from the North American region that's kind of stopping us from advancing, right?
Yeah, I mean, okay, definitely to dispel something, like it is true that like obviously practice in North America is overall a lot weaker. Some people, but it's not always because people just take the game less seriously or something like that. It's not necessarily that people aren't completely aware of their mistakes or what Europe has to offer, for example. So if like Liquid after boot camping and Ultrecht come back to NA, they're like, well, fucking everything's wrong here. Well, it's because like who are in NA that understand exactly what they're doing wrong, because if they knew, then they wouldn't be playing that way. And so I think we're sort of past a point where like NA teams don't take themselves seriously, because we saw EG Black have really bootstrapped themselves in terms of how good of a team they are, and they've like carved out an identity for themselves too. Like you can see Junior played at the level he did on Triumph in a new system, getting set up really well, not just combat offing every single situation, and like he's holding a lot of angles for like 10 or more seconds, which is like on Furia it was like let's get moving, and he would just die. And it seemed like that was going to be Junior's style, but he's pretty much reimagined in the same way like someone like Henny is, for example. And I think that EG Black are a great example of like, all right, you can create your own leadership, you got enough smart players who understand the game, now here's what a good system looks. And so I just think you have to have whetstones in the region, right? If EG Black get good enough that they can show some dominance in NA, then other teams, when they go up and play against them, are going to get good, whether they like it or not, by playing against EG Black. And if like Liquid, if they get good enough to the point where they're just in Europe all the time, well, that's just a hit to NA and it's got to reset. So I think that like I just want to take the conversation away from attitude, because I really don't think that's the big thing that everyone just loves to dog on NA about. But I do think that like, you know, we're in a European centric ecosystem, and if you're good enough, you're not in NA. So it's very hard for people to improve each other.
Got it. Well, Well said. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, I'm really excited about EG Black. It's really cool to see how much Junior's improving, and also, yeah, I know they have a lot of younger talent on that team too. So, I'm excited to see how far they go. Interesting. All right, so now we talked about NA a little bit. Let's hop to the number, according to the stats, the number one player in the game right now, ZywOo.
Yeah.
So if we could kind of spend a second and look at his stats here. So he's posting 1.34 rating. He's just been absolutely nasty recently. And I'm actually going to play a clip in a second. I was wondering if we just do like some quick, like, just real-time analysis, where it could even be just, light conversation around it. But it's kind of like what makes ZywOo, like how is he so gifted at the game? Because like even me as a player, like I'm always watching his demos and I'm always like, wow, this guy's a savant. But
Are you an opper, by the way, or?
Yeah, I'm an opper now.
Okay. So he's like your number one opper to watch.
Yeah. I watch like ZywOo and Monacy a lot, and then been checking out a lot of Device and Shiro recently too.
Yeah. Dude,
Yeah.
Monacy just knows so much about Counterstrike. It's like intimidating.
Yeah. Honestly,
he's doing new shit all the time.
Yeah. For Monacy, actually, I don't like watching his like live matches as much. I actually watch his he'll like trio queue with Bit and someone else and face it free, and they'll just destroy. So I actually watch those demos. I'm always downloading his face it posts. But there's a lot of fun stuff that he's experimenting with there. But all right, so yeah, here we have clip from ZywOo here.
The grand finals of Rio. Yeah, the second match here.
Yeah, just from the other day. So if you just want to kind of like explain like what's going on here, if you don't, from your point of view, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I was watching it, but then I was hosting a watch party in Toronto, so I didn't watch much. I was mostly just like schmoozing people in the watch party and talking to people, so I didn't get to see many of these rounds live. Pretty much just the beginning and end here. But I also can't see Radar right now, just because my camera.
Okay, so he's actually solo here. Sorry about that.
Yeah, so I figured, they're just leaving him. So this spot is obviously really strong to sit and wait as a solo, because you can drop off the back of half wall and rotate and use this smoke like total emergency mode to get into the site. If he felt like he had an extra second, which he didn't feel like it, he could have smoked between that and Emo Pillar and played like a one-way or something like that. And now, of course, he could have been mollied, but they didn't molly him. So he's got time to delay. And I think he's actually feeling pretty good because they have their man up and he's got no one approaching him. So he deals with the situation pretty well. I think you definitely saw that. He thought he would die, run into quad, so he threw that emergency smoke down to like just make sure his back was covered to get there. And that's all even after missing his first shot. So I guess I would say that's like a good display of like reactions when things don't go right on your opening pick.
Right. Awesome. Yeah. And it's really cool to see like, I don't know, his raw reactions I feel like are some of the strongest. It's a really good point about the emergency smoke. I didn't even consider that if he thought he had like another second, because it probably would have been better for him to have it in between Emo and New, as you said, because it kind of creates like almost like a little hallway back there for him to work around. But
I think he has such a good. He's just like a lead at everything. He's such like good perception of like where everyone is, how much space he has, how far you can be from him, who's going to approach him from where, and it's just there's no wasted pixels on his flicks at all. Everything's so calm. It's like not even like particularly fast, only when it absolutely has to be. It was like Monacy is like fast 100 miles per hour every shot. ZywOo's like just clean enough to make sure that's consistent every time.
Right, that's awesome. Well, I'm so excited about this, Launders, honestly. And again, I just want to thank you again for taking the time. It's about all the time we have, and we went over CS2, kind of where NA is right now, and poked around a little bit about ZywOo. Just want to say I really appreciate you coming on, and yeah, man, hope you have a great rest of the week, and thanks to all the viewers out there.
Yeah, thank you too. Thanks for coming on. Great questions. Turn those YouTube videos into shorts, and you guys should watch them.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye.